Hi, it's Ebony for a first video in a long time. But I had to do one of the painting that inspired this entire app and inspired this entire journey. And so this is the video. And hopefully I will do monthly, maybe, videos of different art pieces that I can talk about for a long time. So the reason I want to do this is I want to encourage more interaction in the app and encourage more people to talk about art and to think about art the way I like to think about it. And so this piece I stumbled upon in 2016 at Christie's, and it was initially listed at $5,000, which was about an amount of money that I could just spend and not regret too much at the time. And when I put it in my cart, it increased in price by like $20,000. And this unexpected jump made me understand something a little bit more about the art industry, that the pricing is unusual for someone like a normal consumer like I am. And I started wondering whether I could find a piece similar to this in my price range and what I would have to do in order to do that. And that led to this entire company starting, and that led to me continue doing work on it despite everything. Anything can happen, but when I look at that piece, I remember why I'm doing it. And I've realized I never did a blog about it, so I published a blog about it. And I'm also going to publish this YouTube video, which you will see. And so let's get started on the piece. So this is typically called Portrait of a Moorish Woman, which the name itself is probably inaccurate. The artist probably didn't name it. It's something that probably a historian named it, or someone who collected it named it. It wasn't common at the time for someone to name it, so she might not be a Moor, or she could be a Moor. And usually, like, what I've learned through research is that usually what Europeans considered a Moor would have been anybody. And even though there was like the Moorish Crusades throughout Europe, it was a variety of different people in the Middle East and Africa who came up and decided that Europe was theirs. So long story short, I don't really feel comfortable naming it that. Although I did it for the point of for people seeing it, but whatever. So for SEO purposes, that's what it is, and that's probably what the title will be, something along that line. But initially, when I saw it in 2016, it was attributed to Paolo Caliari, Veronese. I know I'm mispronouncing it, and I didn't look up how to pronounce his name, but the artist is beside the point for me. So it was attributed to him, but now when I look back on the Christie's link, they seem to have updated it and said that it was one of his followers. So, and this artist is a celebrated Renaissance painter of Italy and considered a master artist. And works that he attributed to him are considered to be masterpieces. And the painting itself portrays a young woman with beautiful doe eyes and beautiful mahogany skin. And what really drew me was the pearls. She is covered in pearls. And at the time, pearls itself were something that would take a lot of effort to get. We didn't have what are those machines called with the oxygen tanks? We didn't have submarines that explode underwater for billionaires. We didn't have any of those things. It was just an individual who swam to the depths of the ocean and plucked out a pearl and brought it back. And so the fact that she had, I tried to count it, more than 20 pearls, like pearls around her neck that were perfectly even, pearls in her turban, a pearl chandelier. What wealth and opulence that even a queen at this time would be unlikely to have. And so when I saw that against the beauty of her mahogany skin, I thought, I thought, I was thinking a lot. It just caused me to stare. And as I researched for the article, I learned more about pearls. Um, and to me, I've always had a soft spot for pearls too. Like, I've always liked pearls because I think I saw a Matt Damon movie. I think it was Matt Damon that talked about diamonds and the diamond industry being cruel. And so I just decided I don't like diamonds despite the one on my finger. It's a minor one. I've always been fascinated and in love with pearls. And I think it was because of the act of pearl diving, needing some sort of expertise. It's not something associated with child slavery. It's associated with someone who can dive into the water, swim, hold their breath for a long time. You have to be a skilled expert in order to do something like this. And I think that's what I loved about it too, is because it caught that. It made me think about why I love pearls, because it was on her neck and because it was so unusual to see a painting by a European painter of that time of a beautiful black girl. I'm going to call her a young girl because she doesn't look like quite like a woman to me. And so as I saw it, I thought to myself, like, to me, pearls mean skilled labor and diamonds mean unskilled labor. And because of the way that people go about craving diamonds, it's even in 2020, we hear reports of child slavery to go within the diamond mines. And so to me, I felt like, because my mother calls me Pollyanna, but could it be that these Italian Renaissance painters were making an abolitionist statement by having her clothed in pearls? Because at the time, about 100 years prior, in Italy, the Pope put out an edict that people that look like her could be enslaved for generations, whereas that was a very uncommon thing for anyone to consider that, you would be enslaved for generations. Yes, there was slavery happening across history, but nobody ever would say that someone should be enslaved generation after generation. And that was a new concept that was coming out of Italy that was condoned by as high levels as the Pope. And so I thought, by doing pearls versus diamonds, me being who I am, I just thought maybe that was symbolism for abolition. But as I stared at the painting in more detail, and as I looked at it, beyond the pearls and the beautiful skin tone that drove me to it, I look upon her head, and now I see even feathers. I don't even. I'm sure there's something too, like peacock feathers as well, but the big ruby on her head, the ruby as large as her pupils, makes me realize that this is not an abolitionist statement, most likely, because rubies at the time were probably found through slavery or harsh conditions. And so it's not, the jewelry on her is not making an abolitionist statement, as much as I would love to say that is it. And the piece at the end of the day, what I found through my writing was that the piece spoke to me. And as she looks up into the left, to me, I saw that as contemplative and an intelligent young woman. But as I stared at it and thought about the time period, for all I know, she was a model for the day, clothed like that for the day, and she's staring off with tears in her eyes at these Italian artists who might be mocking her. As I see her clothing is loose, barely fitting upon her, and to see her lips, they look chapped to me, which could be just, you know, when we see a painting that is as old as this, there are many people who go back onto the painting to repaint things. So I could be just seeing that the person who came back to repaint the image made her lips look chapped, or her lips could truly be chapped. But, and the clothes, I'm not a clothing historical expert, and maybe this is the type of clothing that women wore from Africa. It might have been more loose fitting. But if you're going to wear pearls like a European, but she also has a turban, so I would assume that you would also wear clothing like a European that is more structured by a tailor, and this is loose, barely fitting on her frame. And so it made me wonder whether she was just a model for a day, and whether her eyes were truly contemplative, or whether they were sad from this experience. But then it also got me to think that it doesn't matter what the artist's intention was. It matters what I feel when I look at the piece. And when I look at the piece, I see a woman who inspired me to create this app. And whatever she went through at the time, whether positive, whether negative, she still had such great impact on me today. And I'd love to know what you think of this piece, and also a suggestion of what piece to analyze next. And, you know, remember to like and subscribe, and comment enough to make me want to do our next post. And I'm sorry if I'm feeling like crying just thinking about what she might have gone through, and what was going on in Europe at that time. But let's not keep this on to see me cry. Bye.